when you inhibit these primitive reflexes and basically balance her out, can that affect her negatively, where if this unevenness of skills and she's really skilled at this level, can that basically balance down to where it would affect her?
Yeah, no, that doesn't happen.
Okay.
Never happens, as a matter of fact. And again, we understand that we've documented now with working with kids of all different ages, tens of thousands of cases, right? So we have, we'll work with 10,000 families and kids this year alone in the United States. And what always happens is that their strengths stay their strengths and their weaknesses just rise, and then this creates coherence between the networks in their brain so that now they can integrate the hemispheres and those networks in an appropriate level, which is ultimately what thinking is, which is ultimately what a memory is and what our thoughts are, you know, because that's really the basis of it. How does it actually do this? And it doesn't actually ever really decrease it. It helps to maintain it so that, for instance, OCD is really certain networks in the basal ganglia, in specifically the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex on the left side is too high. And so what happens is there's a network on the right side which actually helps to inhibit that through the basal ganglia and keep balance between those two. And when the right brain isn't there, that left side is really high, so it is uninhibited. And so therefore we get, you know, uncontrolled, unregulated thoughts or ideas or movements, depending on which network of the 5 primary networks are affected. Whether it's motivation, which would affect things like, you know, schizophrenia or mania or depression, or whether it's motor activity, which would cause tics or movement disorders, or whether it's you know, eye movements like the frontal eye field, or whether it's orbital frontal cortex, so it's abnormal social behavior, maybe being overly social, or, you know, being sexually aggressive, or things like that. All of those things come down to really balancing of networks in the prefrontal cortex and the basal ganglia. That's where all human behavior comes from, which is built on, you know, our brainstem and all of the things that lead up to the ultimate development of our prefrontal cortex. When we activate the right side of the brain, and specifically the networks of the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex and what we call the hyperdirect pathway, it literally then creates inhibition within the basal ganglia, which allows us to regulate those thoughts. It doesn't limit us having them or the degree or the quality of them. It just allows them to be under control. So now we're no longer obsessive, or we're no longer compulsive, or we no longer have tics. You understand?
Yes.